Welcome to another Coffee and Contemplation brought to you by Spotlight Recovery. It is April 21st. We've got a great reflection today on letting go of struggles. So let's get into it. Edge up against your pain and give it a name by Patricia Benson. Dwelling on our pain is unproductive and can heighten our anxieties. However, we do need to identify the pain, give it attention, and then be willing to let it go. Naming it sheds light on it, preventing the pain from living in the shadows where it remains free to haunt us. Life is never wholly free from struggle and pain. As part of the human community, we learn significant lessons, and our willingness to experience the journey may sometimes appear directly related to the amount of pain we have suffered. But letting our steps be guided by our higher power, instead of fearfully resisting that power, will make our lessons easier to learn and our journey smoother. When the pain-filled moments come, as they may today, we can remember to acknowledge them and give them over to the one who has all power. Today, I will recognize my pain if it comes, and I will take responsibility for my part in it. It will leave when I do my part and let my higher power do the rest. Yeah, there's a couple of good points in here. I like the language in it, and I like that it seems pretty straightforward, and it's got an actionable step in it. It's got some tips in it and things on what you can do when you have these struggles and pains that come up. I mean, if you know me, I'm all about the action. Give me something to do. Give me an actual tip that I can apply and use in my recovery. And also the topic of dealing with struggle and pain avoidance, how to more healthily cope and deal with pain instead, is so classic for us addicts. I mean, addiction at its core, one of the fundamental pieces of it is pain avoidance, right? It is just total numbing, distracting, avoiding. It's such a core part of our disease. And so that's very common for a lot of folks when they come into recovery. I've really noticed this a lot with people that I've worked with, is now that we have removed our main coping mechanism for addiction, for pain and for struggle, we don't know how to cope with it or how to deal with it healthily. That's just a place that we can seem really lost. There's a bit of a void there. How do I deal with this now instead? I've removed my addiction. What do I do now? So they talk about that a little bit. So let's get into that. I like the first line on it here. Dwelling on our pain is unproductive and can heighten our anxieties. And so I like, just in this paragraph, they talk about dwelling on our pain, or trying to brush it off to the side without identifying and looking at it, so it's going to come back and haunt us later. That language was so good. You heard me do the when I was reading it. I really resonated with that. So talking about how dwelling on our pain is going to be more harmful and damaging for us also, and then the opposite side of that, also not facing or looking at our pain at all, is also going to be harmful and damaging to us. So what do we do? And this reflection suggests identify the pain, give it attention, and then be willing to let it go. Naming it sheds light on it. So I like this directive. I like this suggestion, because those two extremes of either dwelling, like for me, the word that I identify with is obsessing. So either obsessing on the pain or completely ignoring the pain. Those were pretty typical go-to responses for me. So I identify with those a lot. And so it's talking about then meeting somewhere in the middle. Where's the gray area with this on how to be dealing with pain and struggle? So identifying it, really, really crucial. And funny enough, that sounds so simple and straightforward. I don't think it is. I think a lot of times it's not as simple as we may make it out to be. Human beings are complicated. Emotions are complicated. If it's pain around some form of a relationship, those are complicated, so there can be a lot of layers to it. And also in addiction, like I said, we spend so much time numbing, avoiding pain and struggle, whatever it is. Well, the longer or more intense our addiction is, then when we come through, it just makes it that much harder to then identify what's going on. What is the pain actually? What's really going on there? What are the underlying pieces around this? Like at the surface, you may feel it's, I don't know, let's say an intimate relationship. For example, you're feeling like, oh, maybe this person doesn't love me, when really maybe underneath it could actually be of just having these general insecurities. And so then we're making it about the person, but instead really it's just our own insecurity, our attachment style, whatever it may be. So it's identifying more of what's really going on within us rather than looking for that outward identifier for what the pain or the struggle may be. So being able to identify that pain, and then this is where good help, coaching, therapy, support systems and recovery, sponsorship, that's where all these roles can come in to help you better identify what's going on, give it that attention for only whatever amount of time, for depending on each pain and struggle, that's going to be different. But it's important to only give it so much amount of time that is necessary to identify, to understand, and then be willing to let it go. You don't want to then be crossing that threshold to where you're now dwelling on it, and that giving this pain attention has now become that obsession. And again, that's where guidance and support can be helpful in this process. But back to what I was saying early on when I was in recovery, I remember I had a group therapies I'd go to in rehab, and we had to do check-ins and how are you feeling? And you can't say good and you can't say fine. You need to look for other feelings. And every time I'd be sitting there and I'd be like, oh, give me the fucking feeling wheel. I don't know. And it was so funny. It was just this diagram I've just listed of just like a gajillion different feelings on it, and it's color coded, and it felt very elementary, and that's what it needed to be, and that's what I really needed, because I had used so intensely, I just couldn't really identify and explain what my feelings were anymore. So I needed this wheel to be able to then point out and look at and help me identify what my feelings were. So back to really identifying what's going on, instead of just so simply, oh, it's this, and moving on. Like, that may not be the case. And then if we skip over things like that, then that's where this bottom piece of the paragraph can come in, where the pain can live in the shadows and remain free to haunt us. Oh man, I'm loving that language. It's speaking to me so much right now. But anyway, so that's a really good approach and just basic, step 1, 2, 3 on how to let go of struggle and pain. That I really like. So give that a try, and please throw it down in the comments. Come back to us. Let us know after trying this, has it worked? What did, what didn't? Would love to hear from you. So please come back and let us know. Second main paragraph here. Life is never wholly free from struggle and pain. A really good just reminder and a piece around acceptance for us. Again, addicts being those pain avoiders so much, having to accept this truth, we're never going to be able to fully escape it, is really important. And I don't think enough people actually spend time accepting this truth, just really understanding and cognitively doing that and doing this process. I think more people could spend more time on just really sitting with and soaking that up. And we especially could be talking about that in recovery more, just because addiction is so pain avoidant. We need to be accepting right off the bat. It's like, look, if I want to come into recovery, I need to do this. A part of that is needing to accept that my life is never going to be wholly free from struggle and pain. And the sooner I know and accept that, the better. It's going to make the rest of the work that I do a little bit easier. It's going to make more sense of it. I'm not going to get caught off guard by these surprises down the road. People say, oh, I thought recovery life was supposed to get better. It's like, well, okay, yeah, but that is such a generic statement. That doesn't mean you're not going to have hard times and things aren't going to suck and hurt and be scary and you're going to go backwards. That has nothing to do with any of it, right? It's just understanding and learning how to live a life free of addiction. So these are parts of life, struggle and pain, right? I mean, that's Buddhist rule number 1 from their rules or laws of life. I can't remember the word, but life is suffering. It's number 1 right there. First thing covered, right? So here, life is never wholly free from struggle and pain. As a part of the human community, again, this isn't an addict thing now. This is a human thing. We all go through this. We learn significant lessons, and our willingness to experience the journey, living through recovery, may sometimes appear directly related to the amount of pain we have suffered. But letting our steps be guided by our higher power instead of fearfully resisting that power will make our lessons easier to learn and our journey smoother. So I really like this language and just how they go through these couple of points. I think that's really well written. They talk about, experiencing struggle and pain is a human thing. It's not an addict thing. So we can't sit and play the victim over it, which is another favorite game we love to do. We learn significant lessons, and our willingness to experience the journey may sometimes appear directly related to the amount of pain we have suffered. I mean, to me, that just thinks of the example. We all know the person and have met or have spoken to the person who has this incredible life and also has experienced incredible pain. I mean, how much of what they have gone through in order to get to where they are now. Typically, that's where, I've seen from my experience from working with people, where those farther extremes can come in. The more that person has suffered and gone through and understands struggle and pain, the more then they are able to turn that around, appreciate success and growth in the good times, and are able to create that better life for themselves. It's not a blanket statement. It's just been my experience from working with a lot of people. But so we all know that person, and we've all spoken to them and be like, wow, I can't believe they've gone through all of that and look where they are now. Like, we all know that from some way or another. And then brings in the concept of the God thing. And I know God, higher power, there's a ton of resistance around this in recovery. I understand. I love the language that they chose in describing that, relating with going through life and experiencing struggle and pain. Letting our steps be guided by our higher power instead of fearfully resisting that power will make our lessons easier to learn and our journey smoother. So I think that is so cool. Now we have a direct relation here on the concept of God and a higher power with going through everyday life, especially with going through struggle and pain. And I love that language of look for guidance from the higher power instead of fearfully resisting that power. So again, you spend time on whatever you want your concept of God or a higher power, faith, spirituality. That's where doing some digging into this for yourself and understanding who that is and what that means to you is really important. Because that's when you're able to apply it. You know what's going on. You know what you're reaching out to. And just this concept of looking for guidance from it instead of fearfully resisting it. That language is really strong for me too, because it's something else I have seen countless times in working with people. It's just that fearful resistance around a higher power, a power greater than ourselves. Even just the basics of like fearful resistance of a recovery program, of change, of changing our behaviors, of learning to let go. It talks about back in the first paragraph, be willing to let go of it. I mean, you may be amazed at how many times people, or including yourself, you may have this experience, are unwilling actually to let go of pain, right? So instead of resisting any of this process, look for guidance from it instead and go through this process, face it all to make your path, your lessons easier to learn and your journey smoother. Very much identify with that and agree with it. And I think they did a really good job of just covering these little points in the language. Third paragraph here, when the pain-filled moments come, as they may today, we can remember to acknowledge them, give them over to the one who has all power. I like that, just bringing that right out of the big book. That's really good. Yep, so that's just summarizing back on the first point, taking you back to the original direction and lesson that they gave in this reflection. And then just this final thought. Today I will recognize my pain if it comes, and I will take responsibility for my part in it. It will leave when I do my part and let my higher power do the rest. Just really good summary on these points, and just good summary in talking about application of recovery principles in order to be processing and letting these things go. I also like in the previous paragraph, they said, pain may come today. And then in this quote, pain if it comes. So it may come, it may not. Just that mindset, setting up your mind to be open to whatever may come. Yes, pain, no pain. Just having that open mind walking through your day of, whatever may happen. I really like that perspective. And then the first thing they say about it, if pain comes, take responsibility for my part in it. Look at our side of the street. Do that personal inventory around the pain. What is it? What is the pain? What did I have to do with it being there? It will leave, which is so big on us, right? Addicts, I just want to not feel this way. Well, here you go. In order to not feel this way, it will leave when I do my part, as they gave direction in the first paragraph, and let my higher power do the rest. So the last piece of letting it go. And the thing about letting it go, and I'll finish with this, is I love that mentality of rather than letting something go, as opposed to giving something over, turning something over. Sometimes it's hard for us just to let something go off into the ether and just not know what happened and hope it gets taken away and doesn't come back or whatever. I like that little reframe of turning it over. So then that's again where the higher power thing can come into play for me really well, is rather than just letting my pain go, I'm giving it to God. I'm asking God to take it away. Again, higher power, universe, whatever it may be. I'm just asking some power greater than me and greater than my pain to please remove it and take it from me. After I have identified what it is, taken responsibility for my part in it, sat with it to know enough of what's going on and to feel and experience this pain. And then when I understand it all enough, now I am willing to let it go. So there we go. There's today's daily reflection. I hope that one resonated for you. I really enjoyed it. Please throw down in the comments what stood out for you. What did you like, not like? What are things that have helped you let go of struggle and pain and other processes you've done in your recovery? Would love to see those tips down in the comments because they can help somebody else. It'd be great to see them. I do private recovery coaching with folks. So if you're liking some of the things we're talking about today, but feeling like you could use some more help and guidance on them, coaching, direction around them, please reach out to me. Contact info's in the description. I'd be happy to do some work with you on this, on how to go through this process, how to let go of your pain. Happy to do it. So please reach out. Also in that description are other ways Spotlight Recovery can support you. We've got other recovery coaching videos, a podcast, blog, and newsletter, all recovery related, just to give you some more info. And then ways you can support Spotlight Recovery. Doing the rest of these YouTube things, liking, subscribing, and sharing if you are enjoying this content really makes a difference. And donating, becoming a member of the channel, getting yourself some great swag here. Thank you, Justin Bieber, for bringing that word back into our lives. Just some great branded merch. We got a bunch of great recovery clothing down there. It's good, high quality, comfortable stuff. And that's it. So, wishing you a blessed 24 in your recovery today. Thanks again for stopping by and enjoying the video. Hope you have a great day today, letting go of your struggles and pains, and we'll see you again tomorrow.